Hi guys, it's Nino. I know it's kind of dark, but we're doing a quick video. I am in Jersey City, New Jersey, and I just so happened... Oh, okay, I'm being pointed at a more lighted area. So I just so happened to be having a night out with one of my closest friends. And it just so happens that he is a Hillary supporter. Be nice. Be nice. I thought it would be a really good opportunity to have a conversation with a Hillary supporter because we're in really difficult times. I know that we're all having trouble relating to our friends and our families who have different political views than us. And this year, more than most, we're having trouble with others, right? So I thought it would be a really unique experience to be able to have a conversation, a really honest, open, and vulnerable conversation with people who, with somebody who I very much care about, who is one of my closest and dearest friends, and whose opinion I respect more than most, who doesn't agree with me, right? So I'm giving you guys, yeah, I know, Jill, not Hill. I agree. He doesn't. We're gonna be nice anyway. So I figured it'd be a nice juxtaposition of positions, right? Because we here at Real Progressives have given you guys a lot of Jill Not Hill, a lot of Bernie or Bust, a lot of Never Hillary, a lot of extremist, really far left positions, and I wanted to give you that other position. And also a taste of like what it looks like to be in a relationship with people who don't agree with you. Because I think it's really easy for all of us to get stuck in the we're right, everybody else is wrong mindset. And so that's not what it needs to be about, right? So I love you guys. I'm going to hand the phone over. I'm going to switch the camera around, hand the phone over to my husband who's going to film us having a conversation. Hang on. It is very difficult, and so that's why I figured this probably would be a beneficial conversation for everybody. Switched over. Here you go. Let me know when we're ready.
And you're good.
All right. So this is one of my best friends in the whole wide world. So be nice. His name is Rocco Arrigo. He's a corporate event planner. What's your actual title?
Senior project manager.
So what does that mean? What do you do?
I do a lot of things, but mainly what I do is I design, execute, manage corporate events for corporate clients anywhere in the country and anywhere in the world, actually.
Yeah, so he does a lot of traveling. He does a lot of stuff. He's always busy, which is really hard, and I'm really actually happy that I got the chance to see him, let alone have this conversation. I should preface this video with the fact that we've been out, we had an event, and then we went out for some drinks and some dinner. So this may be a little sillier than you guys are used to.
Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me better now?
I don't know. Daniel hasn't told me.
Daniel, I'm waiting on you. No? Okay. So anyway, so we are with Rocco Arrigo. I don't know if you heard that part.
It's closer together.
Okay.
Oh, close together.
Oh. So, as I mentioned, I'm here with Rocco Arrigo. He's phenomenal. He's one of my very, very, very best friends. And he's a Hillary supporter. He's been a Hillary supporter since before the DNC.
Yep.
And I wanted to give you guys a kind of a visual of what it means to have a relationship with someone who doesn't agree with you. Okay? I love him. I have always loved him since the moment I met him, and we have never agreed with this. So,
True.
Yeah. And we've had many political conversation. In fact, some of it has been today. So why do you support Hillary?
Oh gosh. So I support Hillary for many reasons. But I think the biggest reason why I support Hillary is in all sincerity, she just has the most experience for someone that's currently on this ticket that looks... she has the most experience, hands down. She has been involved in the political world of the White House for longer than any of the people that have either run, been a part of this whole conversation this year, and that's hugely important because we are in a very tumultuous time. We're in situations that have never happened before. We are, for me, I'm a gay man, so that's hugely important. And I know that the Bernie people are like, well, Bernie, and I'm like, yeah, but, and this is, you know this, like part of me, for me, I love a person who can own that, who can say flat out, I wasn't there then. And I look at using my own family as a huge conversation. You know, my parents are first generation Italians, and it was a challenge for them to come to terms with me being a gay man. And so I watched their transformation, and I look at Hillary's transformation. Not everyone in this world is okay with homosexuality. And that is a huge thing for me, that people get to understand that the actual ability to recognize, to fall in love with, and to go, you know what, I am for it now. That's important. Seeing that type of transformation, that type of progression, that's huge. Because the ideology of today is not the same ideology of 15 years ago or 20 years ago. And knowing that there is growth potential and growth possibility is important to me. And I see that in her. I see that and I understand that. And I've, you know, again, there's been a lot of different, I've met, you know, her and Bill in different situations, and so that type of situation is important to me.
So, the gay LGBTQ plank of the platform in specific is something that is near and dear to my heart, clearly because I have very many LGBTQ friends and people who I love. So it's difficult for me to know that so many LGBTQ people are on Hillary's plank and still be a never Hillary person.
Yeah.
Knowing that being a never Hillary person is risking Trump, right?
Yes.
Because that risks you in specific,
big time.
right? So I get that. I want to like preface with, I totally get that.
But let's move that aside because I know there's other issues.
Right.
Got it.
So that being said, it's not the only issue on the table.
Nope.
Right? So one of the reasons why I am, and so many of us are Bernie or bust, and Jill before Hill or whatever,
Right.
is because Hillary's platform puts at risk more people than just the gay, lesbian, queer community. It puts at risk our veterans. It's very possible for us to be in World War III, as you and I have discussed in the past. So how do you reconcile, like, my community of LGBTQ versus everybody else who also has a right to live and prosper?
Totally.
How do you reconcile that conversation?
So it goes back to the element of learning through experience. And again, I can't speak for her as if I am her, and neither can anyone speak for Jill or Bernie as if they are them, and that's part of the big challenge that I believe we have on a regular basis. Is there are people that stand and go, well, I know. Well, no, you don't. Sorry, I know you may think so, but you're not them. And I'm not saying that to like ruffle feathers or to make people pissed off, but it's a true statement. We're all seeing things from an outside perspective. And for me, with all of the shit that's been going on, she's the only one that's really been delved into that type of experience of foreign affairs and what that means, what that can mean, what that can affect as far as you personally. And that's a huge learning curve. And again, we've talked about this part where I look at her and I go, well, who's around her? Because as much as we'd love to say, the president doesn't really do that much in the world of what we're looking at. So looking at the people that she surrounds herself with is hugely important as well. And to know that she's got a history of connections and relationships that she can call upon that have understanding, knowledge, you know, can step in and be like, well, these are some of the historical points that we're looking at. Brings in some conversations of how we can affect this. That's hugely important to me. And again, I know this sounds kind of like I feel like I'm sounding very non-specific, but it's more a matter of like, if we're looking at Hillary, I've got to look at the person, but I've got to look at the information and the understanding of what she has, because Hillary herself can only do certain things. So then I pull her aside and I go, well, what else is happening? Her platform has only so many legs to stand on without the support of the cabinet, without the support of the Supreme Court, without these supportive elements. That's, so if I look at who can she bring in, that's important to me.
Right. So I guess...
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
No, it absolutely does, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I think, so part of our... I won't speak for everybody else, but part of my concern, right, is that not only... She does have all these people around her. I don't necessarily trust the people around her either, right?
Right.
Because she started as a Republican. She was a Goldwater girl in college.
Yeah.
And then she was against legalizing gay marriage, and then she was against black equality, right? She called black people, black youth specifically, super predators.
Yeah.
So the concern is against the sincerity of anything she has to say. So personally, you and I've had this conversation, I am for now very much never Hillary.
Right.
Because I have a hard time believing that anything she says is sincere, authentic, and real, because she seems to sway with whatever the public says, which seems to be a follower, not a leader. So how do you respond? I get that she gets to transition, I get that she gets to change her mind, but how do you respond to the idea that she changes her mind as a follower to her constituents as opposed to leading her constituents in the right direction?
I think that's actually a really good question. And as you're saying this, what's coming up for me is we live in a country of billions of people. Yes, one person can have a stand, one person can have a stance and an opinion and a purpose, right? And we talked about this. The end result, the goal that people are striving for, in a lot of ways, like let's just use world peace as an example. There's a lot of understanding that people strive for world peace. The mechanisms to get there are a bajillion. There's so many ways to create this understanding, this idea. And having someone who stops and listens to what's going on around them, I want that. Because I get that there is a person that can stand and say, this is my goal and I'm fighting for that regardless of what you think. I'm going to do this because I believe that's right. Mm-hmm. And there's someone that can say, I have this understanding. Yeah, I've believed this for a long period of time, but I'm listening to what you say to me now, and now it's important that I rile and I stand up and I take on that, and I fight for what the people are saying to me, because that is important. And that's such a huge shift in understanding. This is a huge shift in how we've seen our country driven up until now, because it has been, let's fight for the revolution. Let's fight for the people that are going to stand behind me, and I want that group of people. But that group of people are fighting for one thing. Let's look at what the uniformity, let's create unity in a way that has never been created before. Let's stand for and fight for what the people are actively standing up and saying. And let's be clear, that is a huge rift right now. Right. There are people that are standing for this, there are people standing for this. And for someone to say, yeah, I believe that I believe I may have made a mistake up until now. And I believe that I have shifted. Like, I said this, but now I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm standing for this. There's humility in that. And I firmly believe that there is a misconception of looking at humility and understanding for what the group is saying and the community is saying and going, I'm now a follower. Because if you have someone that is going to be a leader in the world around you, they're going to stop and go, I have my beliefs, and I'm going to listen to the group that's following me and that's standing for me, and I'm going to take on their cause, and I'm going to bring that cause to the forefront. And that's a huge opportunity for a leader.
Yeah, no, so as a little bit of background for the people who are on live stream right now, the way that we met was actually through a leadership program. So not only is Rocco one of my very, very, very good friends, but he was one of the people who helped with my personal and professional development to help me become a leader in my own life and in my professional life. So when I say that I respect him and I love him, like, it doesn't even speak a minuscule amount to how much I really honestly respect him. So anyway, so shifting back, like, I could speak amazing, wonderful things about Rocco till I'm blue in the face. Anyway. So shifting back.
But does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I want to know if you hear that, because I think that's a big challenge that people are saying is, and look, and let's be very clear. I love Bernie's platform. Like, we talked about this.
Yeah.
I think the fact that what he created and caused while he was in these elections up until now has been really awesome. It's really forced people to look at to like go further left and really take on these new opportunities. And I think that's great. And again, that's about listening to what people are saying. And a lot of times people don't choose to speak up for whatever reason, for fear of being uncomfortable, for fear of being told they're wrong. Like, those things are super important to recognize and acknowledge. And the fact that the Bernie supporters have been such a huge influence on this election has been tremendously amazing. And again, I think that stands to saying, she didn't shut it down. She was like, all right, let me hear what you're saying. And yes, there are still some beliefs she has. There are still some approaches she has that are very different than Bernie's. But like, Bernie was like very much like gung-ho, let's take on the revolution.
Yeah.
And she's like, let's find the middle ground. And again, that may work and may not work. We don't know.
Right.
But there is a huge rift in general in the country, and finding mid-ground and finding someone that can listen to the populace and listen to the leadership and find that opportunity, that's important. And so for me, those are some of the reasons why I've, fall behind her and like firmly stand behind like what she can do. So.
Right. No, and I feel like we've had this conversation many, many times.
Yeah.
Rocco is not shy about talking about his political beliefs, which is great. And one of the things I will say is that it does take a certain type of leadership to listen to your constituents, right? It takes a certain amount of humility, it takes a certain amount of openness to what is being said around you. That being said, one of the concerns of the Bernie or Bust people is, I'm going to say this in like I'm going to say this really long, but it basically boils down to one thing. But basically, there's the collusion that's been alluded to through the emails. There's been the various instances where Bernie delegates have felt shut down, whether it's been through the convention where Bernie signs were pulled out of delegates' hands and they were given Hillary signs instead. Aisles were, I don't know how aware you are. I know that you didn't really watch the DNC.
Sorry, I was working.
Yeah, he's very busy. So there were instances where the Bernie delegates were chanting "No More War" or chanting "War Hawk" or chanting things that necessarily weren't against Hillary, but sometimes were against Hillary.
Yeah.
And so the DNC was instructing Hillary supporters to chant over them in the middle of the broadcast. So when the delegates, the Bernie delegates were taken, their Bernie paraphernalia was taken, they were given Hillary stuff. Bernie delegates got very, I'm saying this for your benefit so you kind of know. Yep. The Bernie delegates were given Hillary paraphernalia. So at first, there was a stronger together sign. So the Bernie delegates like colored in certain letters. So it actually said "Stop Her."
Yeah.
And then the following night, they took those signs away because clearly that wasn't working. And instead, they gave them stronger and then together signs. So it was two separate signs. And they gave them the long signs, that say Hillary, so they would white out, and it said liar instead. So long story short, Bernie delegates and Bernie supporters, we tend to be very, very passionate, right? We're very...
Understood.
A little bit, I would say, all or nothing. A little bit, you start all the way on the left and we find our middle ground, but we can't get there if we start in the middle.
Right.
So given what you said, right? Given that she's listening, which I can appreciate, right? On the LGBTQ rights, she definitely didn't listen, right? But like, I get it. She's been listening to some extent on some things.
Yeah. But can I say something just about the whole signage element? And,
Yeah.
So
that was where my question was going anyway.
Yeah. So here's my thing. The minute Bernie was like, "I'm supporting her," right? Mm-hmm. I get people had their feelings either hurt or upset, and there was a challenge with that. And I can very much understand that if you are supporting someone like wholehearted, heart and soul, and what appears to be shifting their conversation to you goes like, this is not okay.
Right.
But then he doesn't change his tone. Like, he's standing firm. Like, he is fighting behind this woman. He's saying, we're going to make a great politics together. Like, I'm supporting her as president. She's going to be the great next woman. Like, when is it that it's our turn to listen? Like, when is it our turn to listen and go, okay, this person that I'm supporting, there's something happening here that I need to be aware of. Mm-hmm. That I need to take stock and go, all right, I fought for this. He's comfortable right now with where he is, or he wouldn't say it. Like, you gotta trust that this person has taken some opportunity. He's not gonna just lie to you up until now. And if you think he has, then something else is a whole different conversation you could take a look at. Because he's fighting for what we believe is our right as well. He's not gonna just suddenly shut down and become a new person. He's not gonna suddenly be like, no, everything I said up until now is a lie. That's not who he is. That's not how he's shown himself to be. That's not the message he's delivered. And so if I'm going to sit here and listen to this man who's actively saying, we get to come together and support her, but I'm actively going against exactly what he's telling me, then what does that say about my stance? Am I truly listening to the person that I'm fighting with? Or am I suddenly going, you know what? No, F you. That's not okay anymore because I don't believe you. Because now that's about me and my belief system versus this fight that we're in together. We are actively saying, I'm not listening to you anymore because I feel hurt. And I get it. You're allowed to feel hurt, you're allowed to feel upset, that's okay. But we're talking about a fight bigger than my feelings. We're talking about a fight that's bigger than something that could affect not just my life, but my children's life, my partner's life, and the life of my family around me. And if this man is someone that I've given heart and soul to, I want to stop and listen and go, all right, maybe it is time that I may not like it, but there's a bigger opportunity here, and the bigger opportunity is that I stand together with him and what he's saying now so that our end message can come to life. Because if I fight this, it's creating a bigger ripple. If I fight what he's saying he now stands behind, that opportunity is lost because I no longer have a support of this man who's affecting millions of people. And that's a huge miss. It's a huge loss, and it's a huge opportunity for me to go, it's bigger than me. And this election is bigger than me.
Right. I think that's very much been Bernie's message, right? Is not me, us. That's been his kind of tag throughout it. What I will say is his message has been very much about bringing to light the corruption, bringing to light the corporate sponsors, bringing to light all of these different ways in which most, if not all, politicians have been abandoning their constituents in some way.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of switch gears. Okay. But
does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it absolutely does answer the question, and I think to some extent, some Bernie supporters have agreed, right? To some extent, some Bernie supporters have felt like Bernie is saying this, so now we have to follow him. So there's that.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I think everything you're saying, it will resonate with at least some of the viewers.
Oh God, and I get it. Some of you think I'm a crock of shit right now, so like I'm not gonna.
Yeah, no.
I'm not delusional. I'm not delusional.
And I get some of that hate too. So so don't worry. And that being said, Bernie or bust people get a lot of crap when, after all of this has happened, a lot of us have switched gears to, well, fine, Bernie has conceded, or Bernie has given Hillary the nomination in whatever way that has looked. And now we have switched gears, including myself and my husband. We've switched gears to Jill before Hill.
Right.
Or Jill not Hill.
Right.
Or whatever version of that.
Right.
What is your reaction to that?
Okay. So let me back up for a second and say that I firmly believe that we should have a system where a person from every state is who we look at. I think if we can do that for Miss America, we can do that for our elections. So let's just preface this conversation by saying that. I think we're missing a huge opportunity in our politics by limiting it to the two-party system, which I know it's not a two-party system, but yes, it is a two-party system. I think that's been my philosophy for years, and if we can find a way of interacting with that in a new way, then I'm all for it. Let's make it happen. The reality of today is that it is not that. So we are struggling to find ways of incorporating other people within this conversation. And I say struggling because it is a struggle. Yes, each year we get closer and closer and closer to bringing in new other candidates from different branches or arms or legs or whatever you want to call it. I'll flat out blatant and honest. I'm concerned and frightened that bringing in people that split the conversation allows an opportunity for a Trump-driven conversation. And I don't give a shit what your politics are, and I don't care what you think it is or isn't. Having a presidency that is headed up by a person who feels it's okay to make a mockery of diving into encrypted servers and systems is okay, and that's a fun joke, and I'm just kidding. That's ludicrous, and that's frightening. I think as a businessman, sure, he knows how to work the system, but we're not a system to be worked as a country. We're a group of human beings that have lives we want to live, and we want to have an expectation and an understanding that my family, my kids, my grandkids, and their kids are going to live a life of luxury because I fought for it. And they're going to live a way that makes me happy and ecstatic, and that's a dream that we call the American dream. And someone that says, I'm going to work the system and make deals, and I'm going to negotiate, and I'm going to do this, you know what? Bring all of your company back into this country and then talk to them. Until that point, we get to take a look at the fact that I hesitate to say, yes, let's go for that, because it is a fear conversation. I get it. I understand that. I'm not saying she's not going to be a worthy candidate, and if we can't find a way of splitting the Republican ticket or, shifting this conversation so reality is in front of us of what this person is capable of doing within our country, then it makes me frightened.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody at Real Progressives, I don't think any of our viewers believes that Trump is the way to go, right? Like, I think to some extent they're probably about the same. Trump may be slightly better, if not equal to Hillary in a lot of our viewers and my perspective, but nobody thinks Trump's the way to go. I think a lot of us are probably thinking Jill, and in a lot of my videos I've been very outspoken about getting Gary Johnson also in debates, right, because at least in that way we can also split the red ticket so that it gives the Green Party more of an up, right? Because if all we're doing is splitting the blue, that's scary. But if we're splitting the red and the blue, we have way more of a shot. And this particular election cycle, we have much more of an opportunity to break this two-party system, which I think is long overdue. I'm trying to think if I have any other questions for you guys. Do you guys have any questions? Is anybody asking any million questions? I'm sure there's a million questions coming up. What do you think, John? Anything?
There has been quite a bit.
Just pick one. I'm sure, because we have a Hillary supporter right out here. And again, be nice. I love him. He's one of my favorite people.
Let me say this. I want to share this too. I think it's really important as a Hillary supporter who has friends that are in the Bernie camp and the Jill camp, and I have friends that are in the Trump camp. I'll be very honest. I think it's super important to have conversations like this, to have conversations that give you an opportunity to learn where people are coming
Rigged
from.
primaries.
What, I'm sorry? Oh.
Rigged primaries.
Okay, got it. We'll get there. We'll get there. I promise.
I think, but I really do think that if you come into a conversation with an opponent's supporter, but you come in like with guns a-blazing and you're right and they're wrong, that creates more of the same of this anger and distrust and ugliness. And it's super, super important that in today's day and age, we are talking to people as friends and trying to get an understanding. The compassion that's available to us having these conversations is so imperative. Because if our candidates are doing it, then we have to. Otherwise, why are we saying we're better than they are? And why are we saying one's better than the other? Because compassion is key to this right now. It's, in my opinion, the ultimate. So that's just my personal preference, but I think it's important that I say that.
Yeah, and I think, so guys, the reason why I think this was so important, and I pitched this idea, this interview idea, to the rest of the Real Progressive scene. We are Real Progressives. We are endorsing Jill Stein. We wholeheartedly endorse her. You know, I did a video earlier today where we were handing in signatures for her. 100% on board with Jill Stein. That being said, there are people in our lives that are not in that same boat, and we get not to throw them out of our lives.
Yeah.
Unfriend them, stop talking to them. We get to love them anyway and learn how to have these conversations so they don't end up in fisticuffs.
Can we talk about Facebook for a hot second?
Yes.
Let's talk about the Facebook feed conversation. If you feel you have a point that you want to share, and there's an article, or there's a link, or there's a something, I'd say, like, hey, look, I'd love for you to read this, versus read this because you're wrong. They're very different conversations.
Absolutely.
And I tell you, granted, I'm not on Facebook often, but when I'm on Facebook, if I see my feed blowing up with that, I say to people, I'm going to hide your comments because, look, this gets to be a discussion. This is not you saying that you're right, they're wrong, because everyone's beliefs are what their beliefs are. You get to understand, you get to read, you get to research, you get to do that knowledge hunting. But if someone's going to tell me that I'm wrong and you're right, I'm going to say, well, in this moment you are, but I'm right because it's my page, so peace out. And I don't want people like angrily like throwing, like it's just not okay. It's not okay. If you want to share a story, you want to share some knowledge, I love that. Please share knowledge, share information. Let me see your perspective. Do not yell at me, tell me I'm wrong, tell me that your person's the it. F you. That's not the way this works. It's about a conversation and a community learning more about each other.
Yeah, no, I absolutely.
Anti-vax.
Oh, yeah. So look at her page. She's not anti-vax.
No, the anti-vax attacks.
Oh, attacks. Yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with Hillary. So
He's unfamiliar.
I hear you. We're looking at it. Give me a second. First, we're gonna talk about the rigging of the election, which somebody brought up on the feed. But before we get to that, I'll give you a minute to think about it.
Okay.
But before we get to that, I want to talk about some stuff that happened on the DNC first.
Okay.
Which there were accounts of some delegates being very, very vocal Bernie delegates.
Yeah.
And as you were being very vocal Bernie delegates, some Hillary delegates felt the need to throw water at them, to verbally insult them, and in some cases, like they were on the elevator together and they'll be like, are you done yet? Are you done throwing your tantrum? Are you ready to join the real party now? What do you have to say to not only the Bernie or bust people who are feeling alienated through that, but also the Hillary supporters who feel like that's an appropriate way to address us?
It's not okay. Bottom line, it's not okay. I mean, again, compassion comes to the forefront of my mind. It's not okay for anyone to treat someone like this. Like, I don't care where you come from. I don't care who you believe in. I don't care where your religious beliefs are. I don't care what your sexual beliefs are. The bottom line is, I'm a human being, you're a human being. And my history dictates a lot of who I am right now. So in order for me to communicate with you in a way that's really powerful and passionate, I want to know your history. I want to know where you come from so we can discover common ground and then build from there. This bullshit that's happening about you're right, I'm wrong, that's not okay. And this aggressive nature that's currently permeating, and this is not, I mean, look, let's talk about our country as a whole. This aggressive nature has been stemming down from our politics, leading into our communities, and that shit's gotta end. Period, end of story. Look, my cousin's a state trooper. I love him to death. He's 6 days older than me. He is like a brother to me. And I promise you, the fact that he is one of the most beautifully spoken, intelligent, and compassionate people I know, has 2 daughters, has a lovely wife. He's one of 5, you know, of my cousins. That's part of his history. But the people that are out there gunning for cops right now, they don't even consider that. They don't look at that. They have no idea who he is. They see him as someone with a badge. And that's an example of it. I'm going to take any of that aggressive nature that's happening at the DNC on the comparisons of like Bernie versus Hillary versus Jill. Cut it out. Cut it out. It is not okay any longer. And if I'm going to be a stand for something different, if I'm going to be a stand for a revolution, my revolution is compassion and love. Passion because that's what I stand for, that's what I believe in. Love because this world is too beautiful to fuck up. F up. Sorry, whatever.
That's fine.
But yeah, I'm just saying.
All the time.
But like that's my stand on that. So if there is a Hillary supporter that's driving that and that's being aggressive in that manner, cut it out. Stop being a bully, because that's what it is. And I don't take bully for anyone. I don't care who you are, what you look like, what your belief is. You get to acknowledge me and say, thank you for sharing your point of view. I'm going to take that home and I'm going to look at it. I may not do anything with it, but at least I've listened. And that person feels heard. Because that is what it's about. That's what this country's about. We are meant to be free in our beliefs and our drive and what we're looking for. We're meant to be that way in this country.
Absolutely. I have nothing to add. So, going back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
We've gotten quite a few, I would imagine, commenters asking about the election, the emails that reveal collusion, and so the rigging, the suppression, the collusion, the exit polling, all of that stuff. What do you... More and more, it's seeming as though like Bernie was robbed. Like he may have had more of a chance than he was actually given.
Right.
And even if you don't believe in any of that stuff, there is a very real possibility that an open primary may have given him the election because he was polling so well with independents versus Democrats. So what do you have to say about that part?
Okay. So the first thing is, the biggest challenge is it's not our current system. If it was our current system, great, let's do that. As everyone knows, anything that's going to redevelop or redesign our system is going to take an election cycle. It's just the current setup. And whether it's right or wrong or whatever, that is our current setup. So that's not a Hillary or anything, that's just the way that our logistics are set up. From the perspective of, I mean, look, until I read the papers, until I have the information in front of me, yes, I can see whatever anyone's gonna tell you. The news can say this person can say this. As we all know, everyone's gonna drive the conversation to what they want their point of view to be right. I'm not saying that that's good, bad. I'm not saying that Hillary's right or wrong. Should there be an investigation on it? Absolutely. I don't disagree with that. I think it's definitely important that our justice system is upheld and that the people that fall under that should be taken accountable for. Now, that could mean Hillary, it could mean her managers, it could mean a lot of different...
Sorry, they're hitting my car as we speak, and I'm like giving them the dirty eyeball. Anyway, continue.
No, yeah, do you want to handle that?
No, it's fine. They didn't actually do any damage.
Okay.
We're in an urban area, they kiss your car all the time.
Okay.
It's fine. Sorry.
But this is where it gets weird, right? So in any sort of these campaigns, again, you take a look at the Trump campaign and you find out, well, who wrote the speech? Who was the one that actually was handling all of those things? There are so many layers in this, and this isn't a defense of her, because as the person who's running the campaign, she gets to know this information. And at the same time, there are so many layers of this. So until we can figure out where the layers fall flat, where the corruption is, I've been to her rallies, as I'm sure you guys have been to Bernie's rallies. Like, I've heard what she said. I've heard how she said it. I've seen her in person. I've heard Bill speak. I've heard all these things, and there was a genuine nature behind a lot of what was being said. I can't say yes or no that it wasn't real, because to me in those moments, it was very real. So, I mean, can I say it was messed up? It seems messed up, absolutely. Can I say that had Bernie had a stronger campaign, would there be a conversation of this? No. You know what I mean? Had there been a different, where he was like up top with every state, if he won every state, it was a no-brainer. You know what I mean? Like, if he had the superdelegates, it's a no-brainer. I can't say what it would have looked like in a different comparison, except if he had won flat out, this wouldn't be a conversation.
Right.
But he didn't.
Right.
And had it been an open election, yes, it would have been different. But it wasn't. And if we want to fight for an open election, fine. Then let's fight for that for the next time. But we can sit here and we can look back every single day. And we can get angry every single day. And we can try to find a reason every single day why it should have been, could have been, would have been different. Right now, this is where we are. Right now, he is not fighting for that. He is not fighting for a look back. He's not fighting for those moments. So again, I say, let's look to what he is doing. Let's support where he is at. And let's figure out an opportunity that supports and drives a unified conversation for the bigger goal and the bigger version of this revolution that we can get right now, because that is an opportunity that we can take on.
Great. So, I don't have any more questions. Is there any more questions that are pressing that are like super? So.
Thanks.
Yeah. So again, this is Rocco Arrigo. He is phenomenal. He's one of my very, very, very best friends. I look to him honestly and truly anytime I have a question in my life where like I'm having trouble or I'm feeling stuck or I'm feeling like I need someone to go to for advice. He is the person I go to. So part of the reason why I'm choosing to do this video is for you guys to see that it's not all or nothing, right? I am very much Bernie or bust. I am very much Jill not Hill. And I'm very much Rocco's biggest supporter. And I freaking love this guy. Nothing can like break us apart. So here's the thing. Hillary's not gonna win without us. Jill's not gonna win without Hillary people, right? We need to create bridges and not walls, right? Walls are Trump's thing. We get to bust that shit down and create conversations and create some sort of enrolling nature in how we speak to each other and bring them to our side. Rocco and I had this conversation before the primary was over. We've had some heated conversations. But it's always coming from, I love you and we disagree. Not,
I want to know more.
Yeah.
It comes from, I want to know more. I want to know your perspective. I want to know what you're about. I want to know why this is driving you. And I mean, sorry not to interrupt, but like
absolutely.
I really do urge and implore all sides of this story to come together with a common idea. I want to know. I'm curious. Give me some information and let's come to it from an open mind, because again, I don't care what side of this wins, but this side gets to win.
Yeah.
Like, it's super important that we figure that out and we learn to look at each other with respect, because the other side's not doing that. We have to stand firmly in that. It's really important.
Yeah, I mean, guys, here's the thing, right? I have family who are Trump supporters. I have family who are blue no matter who. I have family that are waiting for me to tell them what to do. I have a spectrum. And I have friends in the same spectrum. And I also have friends who are Hillary supporters who are trying to send me articles every 5 seconds to convince me that Hillary is the way to go, and it drives me bananas. That being said, I read every single one of those articles. Every single one of them. Because if I choose not to, I have no right to talk down to them. I can't condescend to them when I don't know the information that they're choosing to give me. Right? So, we're real progressives here on this site. Clearly I'm streaming from there. Clearly I'm Jill no matter who. I say this, and I say this a million times because there might be people streaming in and not knowing where the hell this is going. And I felt that this particular conversation was really important. Rocco and I don't get it together very often. Maybe once every 3 or 4 months.
More than that.
Yeah. But I like accosted him and was like, you don't get to leave until we have this conversation on this camera. Because...
Surprise.
yeah, right. Like, he didn't know this was happening before today. Because I wanted you guys to see how it's possible to have a loving relationship, a really true friendship with somebody who doesn't agree with you. There are people who have spouses, who have boyfriends, who have girlfriends, who don't agree with them. There's like Trump with Bernie people.
Coworkers.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I get that. And I get that we are super passionate about what we believe in. Believe me, I am. You've seen the rest of my videos. I am crazy passionate about what I believe in. I have in other videos told the DNC to eat a dick. That's the thing I've said. I admit it. That being said, I love the people in my life. And I would die for my beliefs just as much as I would die for the people in my life that I care about. Because they would for me. And I love Bernie. He's incredible. He's phenomenal. And I honestly believe that he probably would die for my rights to be a free citizen with all of the rights and benefits of every other free citizen.
She's not dating him. She's married, jackass.
Yo, that's my husband on the other side. Yeah.
And I'm gay.
He's very gay. He's got a nice butt and everything. And if any of you guys are gay and think he's cute, he's available. But he's very
That
gay.
did come up.
Yeah, he's very...
This is not a wedding ring.
No, see how it's not on the wedding finger. Anyway. I thought it was important for you guys to see this. I think it's very easy to get lost in the media that propagates your personal belief, right? Personally, I love the Young Turks. I love Redacted Tonight. They are huge progressives, and I know the Young Turks have kind of shifted Hillary because of everything. But
I had to.
So I get that. But it's the more we surround ourselves with people who think like us, the harder it is to relate to people who don't.
Yeah.
So
Challenge yourself.
So have the difficult conversations with the people in your lives who don't agree with you. Not because you want to have an argument, but because you want to understand. Because the only thing we're creating by being in that boat of like only seeing our perspective is more Trumps. If all you see is more progressive stuff, as a progressive, you're just creating walls around you, around your beliefs, around your perspective. So I get it. And break down those walls and build bridges across them. Because Hillary sucks. Sorry, I love you. Hillary sucks. I hate her. Yes.
You've been requested to follow Jill on Facebook.
All right, we'll
talk in a
handle it.
I just wanted to bring that one up. I think that's important.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Anyway, bridge those gaps. Not because you're going to agree with the people in your life who disagree with you, but because it enriches your life. Because it makes you a better person.
And honestly, I mean, it brings us all back to why this country was even.
Yeah.
Look, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of people know why this country was founded, blah, blah, blah. But why the Constitution was created, why there was an understanding of freedom. Like, let's live the spirit of what this country's about. Let's bring the spirit alive. It's all. We all want to live free. We all want to live equally. We all want to love and live and enjoy a life of freedom in so many ways. I just implore you to really take action to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you've seen my other videos, in one of them I speak to next steps, and I very much said what's next for me is creating partnerships with people on a people to people, right? Like having some sort of a way to create bridges where we see each other as people and not data, dollar signs, what have you, right? And not see corporations as people, but see human beings as people who we can create relationship with. So if you were real about that, and I know some of you guys really resonated with that particular message, this is the first step. This is what you get to do. You get to talk to people who don't agree with you. You get to be real, honest, vulnerable, in their face, but respectfully. Right?
And say thank you.
Yeah.
For some of us, that's the biggest challenge, is going, thank you for sharing that information. Not how I saw it, but I appreciate you telling me. Like, what would happen?
Can you tell he's gay?
Shut up.
The drama.
What would happen if that was your response to the, like, heated passion and the, like, hate and the anger and the... I mean, look, the water in the face, being like, I didn't realize you felt that way. Now I understand, so next time I want to interact with you differently. That's on me.
Yeah, guys. I think I don't even know what to add. I think I'm gonna cut in a second, but just know that we are on two very different sides, and there's never been any love lost.
But are we? So this goes back to what we were talking about, though. We have the same result we want to go to. Our mechanisms look different.
Right. Yeah, so we both want all of the same things. And I would argue that Rocco's view is fear-based.
Oh, no. See, yeah, this is where we disagree, because I'm not afraid of, I think, for me, she's the one I want to.
No, but your fear, yeah, well, right.
Yeah.
And my personal view is based in, I would say, a bit of self-righteousness, a bit of, like, and,
What?
huh? A bit of self-righteousness, a bit of like knowing or thinking I know what happened during the primary, the elections, the rigging, and the emails, and so like digging my heels in the ground further and feeling like, well, then this is the year to break the system because they fucked us one too many times, right?
And I would say that if I changed my point of view, I would have said yes, it was fear-based because I was there from the beginning.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I've always been supportive.
Right, and that's the other thing, right, guys? There's a ton of new Hillary supporters who switched, and that is fear-based. So, like, maybe this conversation looks different. I don't know. I can honestly tell you in any of my videos, I don't have the answers. I am not the most knowledgeable. I didn't study political science. I don't know half the history. Half of you guys know probably. I haven't been alive long enough to have followed all of that politics, and I wasn't interested, and frankly didn't give a crap because I thought it was all corrupt and all bullshit anyway. So this year, I was fortunate enough to be awakened by Bernie, to be inspired, spurred to action by Bernie. And so I gave myself the gift of getting informed, and this is now where I stand. And this isn't where everybody I love stands. And that's okay. And just like it's okay for us to vote for Jill and that's not a vote for Trump, it's okay for them to vote for Hillary and that's not a vote for Trump. Right? We love each other anyway. And as long as we're leading from that position of love, right? I've said very many times, Bernie supporters are the lovers. We're the ones that are super supportive, super loving, super inclusive. We get to show that in our communication because I've noticed that it's been more and more difficult for me. So I have to imagine it's been more and more difficult for you. So that being said, I love you guys. It's late. I'm always on longer than I think I'm going to be. Sorry. I love you anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rocco Rigo, he's phenomenal, and I love him. Bye.